This is an Electric Pete special report. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Electric Pete. I'm Pete. I drive an electric vehicle, so I named my podcast Electric Pete. Today's episode is a little different. Over the last several months, Philadelphia has been discussing a proposal that would add an additional fee to Uber and Lyft rides within the city. As an Uber driver, I hear opinions all day long from people sitting in my back seat. So instead of guessing what riders thought, I decided to ask them directly. I created a simple survey and shared it with riders through a QR code in my vehicle. Today, I'd like to share the results. Now, this episode is not about telling you what to think. It's not about politics. It's not about taking sides. It's about listening to the voices of Philadelphia riders and sharing what they had to say. I collected responses from 38 riders in Philadelphia. Of those riders, 26 opposed the proposal or the proposed rideshare tax, or about 68%. 7 supported the proposal, or about 18%. 5 were unsure, about 13%. I also asked riders whether paying an extra dollar per ride would change how often they use Uber or Lyft. The responses were interesting. 17 said no. 14 said yes. 7 said maybe. So while many riders are opposed to the proposal, there were very different opinions about whether an extra dollar would actually change their behavior. I also asked a second question. Would your opinion change if money were specifically directed toward Philadelphia public schools? The responses were nearly evenly split. 14 said yes, 12 said somewhat, 12 said no. So that tells me that many riders support education in public schools, but they still have concerns about how the money would be spent and collected and spent. But honestly, the numbers are only tell part of the story. These comments are where things get interesting. All right. One of the biggest themes was cost. Several riders felt transportation is already becoming too expensive. One rider wrote, "We don't need taxes added to an already high price." Another rider said, "I don't agree with it because Philly residents already pay enough taxes." And another simply said, "Uber is already expensive." As I read through the comments, I noticed many riders weren't really noticing or reacting to the dollar itself. They were reacting to a feeling that costs keep increasing everywhere they look. Food costs more, housing costs more, insurance costs more, and now transportation might cost more as well. Another major theme was transportation access. One rider wrote, Philadelphia transit is horrible, and now they want to tax the only other way for me to get around. That comment stood out because I hear similar things from riders all the time. Many people use rideshare because they work late. Some use it because they don't have a car. Others use it because public transportation doesn't take them where they need to go. And some riders simply need a reliable option when buses or trains aren't practical. Several comments focused on trust and accountability. One rider wrote, "It's trash," without seeing where the money goes. Another asked, "What happened to the soda tax money?" Whether you agree with these comments or not, they reflect a concern I saw repeatedly through the survey. People want transparency. They want to know where their money is going and how it will be used. But not everyone opposed the proposal. Some riders supported it. One person wrote, "necessary," Rideshare should pay their fair share of taxes operating in our city and in our public schools. Another rider said, that's not bad, especially if it goes to public schools. And another offered what I thought was a very thoughtful response. It's a pretty fair tax, but the question is whether Uber puts the cost on consumers or whether they bear the tax burden. That comment highlights something important. Even among people who support the proposal, there are questions about who ultimately pays. Will the company absorb the cost? Will drivers be affected? Or will riders pay the entire amount? As I reviewed the 38 responses, what struck me is wasn't simply that riders opposed the tax. What stuck with me was how thoughtful many of the responses were. People weren't really talking about a dollar. They were talking about affordability, transportation, education, trust, and daily life in Philadelphia. One interesting takeaway is this. Philadelphia riders seem to support education. Many respondents said that their opinion changed or partially changed when the money was connected to public schools. At the same time, many riders expressed concern about adding another fee to a service they already depend on. So the conversation is more nuanced than simply being for or against the tax. It's really a conversation about priorities. And as someone who spends thousands of hours driving around Philadelphia every year, I thought it was important to share these voices. The purpose of the survey wasn't to prove a point. The purpose was to listen. And I want to thank everyone who took the time to scan the QR code, fill out the survey, and share their thoughts. This is exactly why I love doing this podcast. Every day I meet people from different backgrounds, different neighborhoods, and different walks of life. And every rider has a story. I'd love to hear, if you'd like to hear more conversations from the streets of Philadelphia, be sure to follow Electric Pete on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube. Until next time, I'm Pete, and remember, every rider has a story. Thanks for listening.